Okay, this is take 2. So, if you're just clicking on this video and you're like, wait, what's happening?" I tried to just go live and the sound was not working. So hopefully it has improved now. And if it hasn't, then that's just homophobic. Anyway, I appreciate every single one of you. We have a lot to talk about today. And yes, I am doing my live in a different place. So, I'm doing it actually in my new apartment. I'm excited to be bringing it to you all. We have a lot to talk about today, and I'm sorry if it's a little bit echoey in here because, it's just a larger room. I might end up getting the little soundboard things. Hopefully, it doesn't become an issue or too much of a distraction or a problem, but, it is what it is. So, all right, I restarted the stream. Oh, please God. Please, RuPaul, can you hear me? Because the last stream I just was doing, it was not, can hear you now. Yes! Oh, thank God. Okay, Kantisa, you're amazing. Is everyone else still hearing me? I don't know why that was happening. That's just rude. That's just rude, beyond all proportions. Yes, I can hear you. All right, perfect. Papa, can you hear me? Wait, what's that song? How does that go? Anyway, so I look really, really tan, in here. I promise I did not go to the beach each. Nicki Minaj. But, but I am wearing some makeup, so if that upsets you, then sorry. I don't give a fuck. Anyway, we have a lot to talk about today. It is very rude. I know, right? I was so excited to be starting and then all of that. Anyway. So, anyway, we have a lot to talk about today. What in the world is going on in Congress? That is the theme. So I'm here to just give you a lot of information. If you come to a different conclusion based on the information that I provide, just the factual information, then great. I mean, I'm going to tell you that you're wrong in your analysis if you disagree with my opinion, but that's also America. You can disagree with someone's opinion. But I also want to tell you that there is information that is not up for debate. It's just objective information. And so we're going to be diving into a lot of it here. We're going to be talking a lot about election math. No, no. Make sure that's an A in there. Election math. Okay, perfect. We're going to be talking a lot about, partisan lean and indexes. We're going to be talking about different congressional districts and how they lean and how this is going to be maybe impacted in 2026, which is coming up, which is crazy. So, anyway, hello. I am doing my live stream from a different spot. So, once it becomes the 4-minute mark, we will officially get started. Um, they just like to make shit up when it suits them. Huh? What do you mean? Oh, like Trump? Yeah, yes, 100%. Good morning. I see a whole bunch of familiar faces in here. I see a whole bunch of familiar faces. Kantisa, Akicha, Anemone Mouse 48 says hello. Um, we have Kate K, good morning. Cherie, good morning. Um, I love all of you so much. Okay, so we are officially approaching the 4-minute mark, which means that's when I officially get started. And I might actually end up turning a little bit this way just so that the lighting hits me a little bit more. All right, y'all ready? Y'all ready? Good morning, beautiful people. Oh my goodness, what is going on in Congress? Because, wow, we have a lot of election math to talk about. So, if you all are not familiar, there was an election last night. Wait, what? Yes, there was an election last night. It was not a mass election. It was just an election for, I think, Jersey City's governor, as well as the Tennessee congressional district, 7th congressional district. And this Tennessee congressional 7th congressional district was like a Trump won it by 20 points. 20 points in 2024. That's pretty big. That's not close at all. Though, I also just want to point out that there was a Democrat that was running a decent campaign, in my view, that was there, and her name is Afton Bain. And she was running a campaign very substantive about the issues. And, she didn't win, but severely cut into the Republican margin. And that is just a big thing that happened. So, let's talk about it here. So, a headline that I see in Mediaite, I open Mediaite and kind of start my live streams with this because Mediaite is a little bit more like, oh, what's the latest drama, the latest gossip, and then I dive into the numbers. So, Trump touts big win after the Republican GOP, Grand Old Party that means Republican, narrowly hangs on to Flashpoint, Tennessee seat. LOL. So, you're touting it's a big win, even though, you know, like, there was a huge, huge dip into the Republican margin here. So, President Donald Trump praised Matt Van Epps' electoral victory late Tuesday as Republicans held onto deep red Tennessee House seat and fended off progressive state lawmaker Afton Bain, whom the president fumed hates Christianity during the race. She hates Christianity. She hates all of it. She doesn't like anyone named Christian, including your boyfriend, Madison. We don't like him. We don't like him if his name's Christian. Anyway, I'm just being funny. Make sure to tap the screen if you're enjoying the live. I appreciate every single one of you. Tap the little heart thing down there. I think it should be down there. If I'm fingering at the screen and there's nothing there, then great. Van Epps, a former Army helicopter pilot, secured Tennessee's 7th congressional district with barely 54% of the vote, defeating Bain in a district Trump carried by 22 points just last year. Wow. Wow, a Republican was able to then become elected in a 22 point what is it? In a solidly red seat? Wow. Wow. Girl. Like, okay, okay. Let me show you some of the election results here. Before I do that, this was Trump's message. Congratulations to my boy, Matt Van Epps. Not Epstein. His name is not Matt Van Epstein. That would be a colossal disaster. Because, listen, I don't know anything about Epstein. I don't know who Epstein is. Is that who's Epstein? It's not related whatsoever. Congratulations to Matt Van Epstein on his big congressional win in the great state of Tennessee. Did you notice that I said big in capital letters, because it was a big win. Not like the Democrats actually cut into that win at all. So, I want to point out here something. Now, this is a seat that leans Republican by 22 points. 22 points. Now, you can look at this here and you see Matt Van Epps is basically at 54%, Afton Bain at 45%, and there were some other down ballot candidates that got like 1% of the vote total. All right. And notice this. This is not a 22 point difference. No. No. There's only 9 points difference. 9 points difference. This is a seat that leaned 22 points towards Republicans. Wow, congratulations. The biggest round of applause for hanging on to it. Wow. Wow. Now look, if this was a Democrat seat and the Democrats were cheering that they were hanging on to a Democrat plus 22 partisan lean seat, I'd be like, okay, whoop-de-doo, congratulations, you're able to hang on to a solidly blue seat. Like, it goes both ways. Imagine the leadership of the House of Representatives, the leadership that like Hakeem Jeffries or some of the most prominent, which I don't even like him, but you get what I mean. Progressive or Democratic leaders in the House of Representatives being like, "Oh, look, we hung on to this blue seat." Like, whoop-de-doo. So, a win is a win. Right, but, like, how much of a win? That's where we're getting into today. So, this was kind of an expected Republican win, though, I mean, you wanna look at something? I wanna show you this here. In 2024, the House margin and the presidential margin, you see that it says R plus 21? an R plus 22. I want to inform you slash educate you on something. When you are in political science, there's something called a partisan lean index, a partisan voter index. You call it a PVI or a PLI, whatever. So you can see the PVI, the partisan voter index for Tennessee's 7th congressional district during the 2024 election was R plus 21. Or R plus, yeah, R plus 21. During the presidential race, you can see it was R plus 22. And during this race, it was R plus 9. When you subtract 21 minus 9, what do you get? 12. The Democrats in this race overperformed in so many ways, but also there was a huge, huge, substantial shift to the left in this race. So every single county you can see here, these are counties that are very red, but you can see the shift in the margin going towards Democrats in every county. That is substantial. Look, there are changes that happen within the realm of political science. They look so small that like, oh, even it becomes statistically significant because sometimes even small changes in election math like really matter. In this case, this was a huge change. This was a huge change. I'm sharing this as someone who studied political science. This is a huge change. You don't often see this kind of big shifts happening. Politics is very, very like ho hum, pretty stable when it comes to election math. It isn't unless there's a lot of stuff happening in the country that shifts the electorate one way or another. But you can see a huge shift to the left. Yes, a Republican did still win. Correct. But if you look at the margin, Democrats cut into that margin significantly by about 12 points. So if this is an R plus 22 district or an R plus 21 district, and it only ended up being an R plus 9, just imagine what all these other districts across the United States, imagine if they're R plus 7, R plus 5, R plus 2. If this race were to be transcribed across all those other districts, you would see Democratic victories. Now, that is mass speculation that is also borne out by some data. Of course, you are not adjusting for things like candidate quality or local or regional kinds of issues or conflicts. Of course, this is a mile away, or like a year away. So there's a lot of limitations there. But you see what I mean? Where you take this R plus 22, R plus 21, you take this race, this momentum, this Democrat momentum, and you put it onto all these other districts, it is it literally spells out defeat for Republicans in the House of Representatives for the 2026 midterms. I'm just saying that as a political scientist, political analyst. Now, let me actually give you the specifics on the numbers. So, last night I was actually going through and I was looking at the election results. I want to share with you all something that I know from my time in political science. Whenever you are doing election results of any kind, and I appreciate every single one of you, please make sure to tap the heart down here, like the stream if you're enjoying the live. I appreciate all my moderators for keeping this a safe space. I am hiding away the chat for a little bit. If you are someone who is like, "Yeah, I see the election results change," and now you're looking at this and you're like, "Well, wait, hold on. I thought Matt Van Epps won. Why is Afton Bain at the top here?" Well, this was during mid count. So you can see 46% estimated reporting. Certain areas will report at certain times. So that's why it can look like, oh, it looks like this person's winning, or this person's winning, or this person is winning. Like, and that's just because sometimes this one county that is so heavily red or so heavily blue reports a lot of their election results, which can skew it at certain times. So when I was looking at this last night, I was like, oh, wow, look at that. That's really awesome. And I'm like, oh, there's still a lot to be reported. That could definitely change. This is the kind of stuff that happened in the 2020 election with Biden as well. You had a lot of these mail-in ballots that leaned heavily Democratic coming in and gradually being counted over time. So this happens in both ways, where you can have like, oh, you can see this election breakdown total, but because not everything has been reported, that it takes time to count all those things and report on all those things. So for all these people that need a 2020 reminder with Biden and with everything happening between the Biden and Trump election, sometimes you have certain votes that lean certain ways, or the way that it is reported means that this vote total shifts and the margin of victory for candidates shifts. It's easy for you to be like, "Well, that looks sketchy," or "That looks nefarious," but given the context, that's how political reporting in elections works. So it's important to understand that context before you accuse the other side of cheating. You know who you are. Anyway, that all being said, as the vote continued to be counted, it looked more and more like this was going to be a victory for Matt Van Epps. Um, you can see 67% reporting, and then this was 93% reporting. So over time, it became this result. Y'all understand what I mean by the political reporting breakdown? Cool. I'm assuming that you understand that based on what I was sharing. But in this race, one of the biggest things to take away is yes, this was a solidly Republican seat. It was an R plus 2122 PVI, Partisan Voter Index lean. I live in North Carolina. My congressional representative, I won't share, has a certain partisan voter lean. Now, that means that that district leans a certain way towards a certain party. Let's say that I lived in a district that leaned +5 towards the Democrats. So if this was a huge shift within the partisan voter index of around 12 points for the Democrats. That means that if this race was moved over here, that means that it would have been a plus 17. You see what I mean? So all of that being said, this race was a plus 12 towards the Democrats. You can see R plus 22, R plus 21 for the 2024 House and margin and presidential margin. For this race, it was an R plus 9. That means that Democrats gained by 12 points within the partisan voter index. So, for being conservative in that sense, that means that if this is a trend that is gonna go throughout the United States, a trend of plus 12 or plus 10, let's be conservative on that, fervor, enthusiasm, excitement, and motivation to turn out for Democrats, that means that any district that is an R plus 10 and below is in massive danger for Republicans. So I actually did a whole statistical analysis. Yes, because I'm a nerd. But before I show you that, I want to show you the map here for this specific election. You can see that you had a huge turnout for the suburbs around Nashville for Afton Bain, but then you also saw small margins of victory for Matt Van Epps. But these circles do not indicate necessarily voters. It indicates the margin. So, there were a lot of people here in Nashville, so that means that a lot of people, but you can see that the margin over here, it is smaller, but it also, it's proportional to the amount of each, country's leading candidate that is ahead. So, it's just a mathematical thing if you wanna look at it. If it helps, great. If it doesn't, then no worries. You can see here that within Davidson County, you see D plus 56. Davidson County is a bigger county along with Montgomery County, and you can see plus 20-point shift towards Democrats in this specific election. If this is a if this is a sign, if this holds across the United States, that means that Democrats can be expected to take districts that lean +5 Republican, and it would be a huge danger for the Republican Party. You can see here in Montgomery County, it was an R+8 reported margin, but this margin shifted from the 2024 presidential race. So that's a huge shift, +10 for the Democrats. You can also see it in Williamson County. Williamson County, yes, you still see it's a strong reported margin, but this is a margin shift from 2024 presidential election. All that being said, yes, yes, this is a solid Republican seat. It's not a surprise a Republican won it. True. And I don't like I if this was I'd be saying the same thing. If this was a solidly blue seat and a Democrat wins it, whoop-de-doo, great. What I'm trying to communicate to you is a shift amongst the electorate going from R plus 22 and R plus 21 towards R plus 9, a huge 12-point shift for Democrats. If this is a representative race if this race is a sign of what is to come for the 2026 election midterms, Republicans are massively in danger. That is all that I'm saying. Now, let me actually give you a little bit more specifics when it comes to this. So, I actually did a whole statistical analysis. Oh, wait. Before I do that, I want to show one other thing. So, this is exactly what Ken Martin, the DNC, Democratic National Committee chair, was kind of talking about. After Boehner's overperformance in Tennessee's 7, a Trump 22 plus district, is a flash warning sign for Republicans heading into the midterms. Republicans had to spend millions just to barely hold on to this seat. And he goes on to say, and I'm not the biggest fan of Ken Martin. I think he's too moderate, though I give credit where credit is due here. What happened tonight in Tennessee makes it clear that Democrats are on the offense and Republicans are on the ropes. After Boehner's overperformance in this Trump 22 plus district, it's a historic and flashing warning sign for Republicans. Her Republican opponent ran his campaign focused on Donald Trump, and he had to get bailed out by massive Republican spending, yada yada yada. I do want to say that Afton Bain, I really actually appreciated one of her specific ads. This is not the best photo of her. I captured this mid video, but she and her campaign team, I think, did a fantastic job. And I'm saying this as a former political organizer myself. They created this ad talking about how, there are billionaires in Washington that profit off of everything. Washington is giving billionaires an easy ride, an easy whirl, tax cuts for billionaires, burying the Epstein files, while working class people, um, while working class people, they don't get a fair shake. So, while working class Tennesseans get a rough ride. And so I wish I could play the video for you all here on live, but I can't. Um, Healthcare cuts for 68,000 families, and then, paying double for health insurance, and then you can see it's people riding the bull and then gradually falling off. So, I think that's genuinely a good ad because it's tapping into, the culture of the area. So, I think that's a genuinely good ad. I think that, it's important for lawmakers or people running campaigns to tap into that and be authentic with it, and I thought that she was. So I wanted to give her props for that ad, before I moved on. But speaking of partisan voter indexes, I wanna show you something here. Yes, what I'm about to highlight for you all is probably very technical, and you might be like, "Okay, I need the SparkNotes version." Trust me, I will give that. What you're looking at here is a breakdown of the partisan voter index for different congressional districts. Now, as I have shared on multiple live streams, not every single congressional district is the same size. Why? Because you have to adjust for population density. So, congressional districts roughly have the same number of people residing in them, but they are not all the same size due to population density. Y'all all following me? So you can see here, oh, look, this congressional district, wait, that's the whole state of North Dakota. Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is. And that's just because it's easier for them to have a congressional district that is just the size of that state. Why? Because there's not as many people that live in that state compared to down here. You can see all of the fragments of different congressional districts all across the South. And again, that is because most every single congressional district has roughly the same number of people residing within it, but but it's different sizes due to population density. Y'all understand what I mean? So so what you're seeing here is you're like, "Oh, well, that's a lot of red." Right. That is a lot of red. You wanna know why? Because a lot of congressional districts that are rural have a bigger area because rural voters tend to be more Republican, tend to be more conservative. They're spread out over more area compared to Democrat voters or progressive leaning liberal people, which tend to be concentrated in higher population areas in cities over less geographic space. So that means that these blue districts, these smaller blue dots, tend to have a higher concentration of people, but then also those people lean to being progressive and Democrat. That's why when you look at this kind of thing, it looks very red. Does that all make sense? It's just election math, election geography. That is something that you learn within political science. That is like political science 101. So when you're looking at this, we're going to be looking at partisan voter index, PVI. If you're enjoying the live, please make sure to tap the screen, tap the little heart icon down there. I work super, super hard to do these lives. Um, don't be a jerk in the chat. You know who you are. Okay. Don't be a jerk. As I was sharing with Afton Bain and her overperformance by 12 points, by 12 points in an R plus 21 or R plus 22 district, going to only R plus 9, that is an improvement by 12 points, 12-point shift towards the Democrats. Conservatively, let's just dumb that number down to 10. What that means is that any district that is an R plus 10 or below is in massive danger for the Republican candidate. Why do I say that? Well, let's take a look specifically at all these districts. Alaska at large is a plus 6 in regards to the partisan voter index. Now you're like, okay, I get it, but what do you mean by partisan voter index? Wherever you live in a congressional district if you're in the United States. And that congressional district has a lean score where it leans +2, +5, +8 towards Democrat, Republican. You feel me? So that is gauged. Don't ask me how that's gauged. That's a whole nother conversation. But your district has a score. My district has a score. I'm not sharing which one that is or where I am because you're never going to know. I live in North Carolina. That's all I disclose. That all being said, certain districts have a different score. So Alaska at large, they have two senators and a congressional representative for the state. Now, if you're like me and you live in North Carolina, there are 14 congressional districts in North Carolina. You're like, "Well, wait a minute. Why does North Carolina have 14 congressional districts and Alaska has 1?" It's because more people live in North Carolina than Alaska. But if you remember from your civics classes, there are 2 senators per state. So, people in Alaska people in Alaska are gonna have 2 senators. North Carolina have 2 senators. But then on top of that, you have Congress, which is based on population. So because there's less people living in Alaska, they have 1 member of Congress for the entire state. And then in North Carolina, they have 14 different congressional districts. So Alaska at large, what that means is it's an R plus 6. That means that for this Nick Begich, I don't know. Yeah. So that's the incumbent. So that means that his seat is in danger. If we take the overperformance of Afton Bain and what has happened in Tennessee as a national example, you apply that on a scale for all different congressional districts for Democrats. If they outperform, if that race is a trend of what is to happen, then it spells major disaster for any Republican in a plus 10 or below seat. So that's danger for Alaska at large. Arkansas's second congressional district. I'm going to go in order. That spells alarm for French Hill. Audio isn't working. Audio isn't working. Can you all hear me? Can you all hear me? I got a message that my audio wasn't working from a moderator. Hopefully it is. Okay, good. All right, thank God. I'll just edit that out when I post this. Great. So that spells danger for uh, Arkansas's second congressional district for French Hill. Apparently, that's the representative's name. Um, or Arizona's first congressional district for David Schweikert. And also, if you happen to know which congressional district you are in, I do, then this also shows your partisan voter index score for your district. So if anyone's living in Arkansas's second congressional district, you have an R plus 8 score towards Republicans. If Afton Baines win, which is an Democrat plus 10 or 12, if that kind of momentum is a national occurrence, then that spells danger for anyone within an R plus 10 and below district. So Arkansas's second congressional district could have a Democrat come 2026 midterms. Arizona's first, Arizona's second, R plus 1 and R plus 7 respectively. Well, those could switch to being a Democrat. Arizona's fifth is an R plus 10, so that would be that'd be kind of close. Arizona's eighth with Abe Hamadeh, I don't know if I'm saying that right, or California's second with Kevin Kiley. I did a statistical analysis for every single seat, and I've underlined all of it. So that means California's fifth is in danger if this national example holds. California's 13th. California's 22nd. California's 23rd. That means California's 40th. California's 41st. And California's 48th. That's not even to talk about Prop 50, which California is going to be redrawing their congressional districts to favor Democrats as a response to Texas gerrymandering for Republicans. Going even further here, I'll give you more examples. If you live in Colorado's 3rd, or Colorado's 4th, or Colorado's 5th, if what happened in Tennessee, a shift towards Democrats by plus 10 or plus 12, if that is a national example, if that shows uniform momentum for Democrats across the nation, then that means anyone in an R plus 10 seat is in danger or below. So Colorado's 3rd, 4th, 5th, Florida's 2nd, Florida's 3rd, Florida's 4th, Florida's 5th, Florida's 7th, Florida's 8th, Florida's 11th, and Florida's 13th congressional districts, all which have an R plus 10 or below, are in danger. So that endangers people like Neil Dunn, Kat Carmack, Aaron Bean, John Rutherford, Corey Mills, Mike Herdopoulos. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Daniel Webster, Anna Paulina Luna. Which, whenever I hear Anna Paulina Luna's name, you know what's so funny? I'm such a political nerd. if you wanna make yourself laugh, I've talked about this in the past. Anna Paulina Luna introduced a bill into Congress to carve Donald Trump's face onto Mount Rushmore. Onto Mount Rushmore. I just know all these, like, random things about specific lawmakers. She introduced a bill to carve Donald Trump's face onto Mount Rushmore. Like, geez, do those boots taste good? Because you are really licking them soles. Like, it's just funny. So, like, certain people, or Lauren Boebert, you know her. She's the person in the theater that was having a little fun with a Democrat. She was, that's just a whole thing. But yeah. What's also funny is that, and I just want to mention that, archaeologists and historians have noted that it's structurally really dangerous to carve anything else into Mount Rushmore without risk for damaging other parts of the monument. So, yeah, just sharing that. Anyway, that also applies to Florida's 15th and Florida's 16th and Florida's 21st and Florida's 27th, Florida's 28th congressional districts. So if what happened in Tennessee is a national example of fervor, momentum, and motivation going towards Democrats at plus 10, plus 12, that means anyone in a plus 10 and below Republican leading seat is in danger. Again, that endangers people like Laura Lee, Vern Buchanan, Brian Mast, Maria Elvira Salazar, Carlos Jimenez, but also people like Buddy Carter in Georgia's 1st congressional district. Let me give you some more, and I'm just going to go ahead and just name them. I'm not going to pause to give commentary. Georgia's 12th. Iowa. That really endangers a lot of Iowa's districts. Out of the 4 congressional districts they have, that endangers 3 of them. One held by Marionette Miller Meeks, Ashley Hinson, Zach Nunn. So that means that 3 out of the 4 Iowa seats that are held that are in Congress could go from Republican to Democrat in Iowa. That's which Iowa at one point kind of used to be a swing state, which is interesting. Or in Indiana even. Indiana's 5th congressional district with Victoria Spartz. Kansas's 2nd with Derek Schmidt. Kentucky's 6th with Andy Barr. Maryland's 1st with Andy Harris. Maine's 2nd congressional district. Michigan's 4th. Michigan's 8th. Michigan's 10th. Minnesota's 1st. Minnesota's 6th. Minnesota's 8th. Missouri's 2nd. All of these are up in the air if what happened in Tennessee last night holds as a national example. What that also means is that a lot of North Carolina districts are up for grabs. Look at this. So my home state of North Carolina, there are 14 congressional districts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 of those. 11 of all of those seats that lean Republican. That means, wait, hold on. That means wait a minute. That means all seats in North Carolina, all seats in North Carolina are plus 10 and below. If what happened in Tennessee last night is a national example of what is to come in 2026, that means that it's possible for all lawmakers in North Carolina, those congressional districts, to then flip to Democrat. That's huge. That's huge. I'm saying that as a North Carolinian. Wow. And that's after North Carolina was so heavily gerrymandered for Republicans. I did a whole live stream talking about that. That also means that Nebraska's first is also up for grabs for Democrats. New Jersey's second with Jeff Van Drew. Nevada's second with Mark Amodei. New York's first. New York's second with Nick LaLotta and Andrew Garbarino. Also, New York's 11th with Nicole Maliotakis. New York's 21st. New York's 23rd. All of these are up for grabs in that sense because they're all R plus 10 and below. So that means Ohio's 7th, 9th, 10th, 14th, and 15th. All very much up for grabs. Oklahoma, even, Stephanie Bice. Pennsylvania, 7th, 8th, 10th, all would be up for grabs for Democrats. South Carolina, even some in South Carolina. Nancy Mace. Oh God, I would love for her to lose her seat. Jeez Louise, that'd be great. Although I will give her credit, she was one of the people who voted to help release the Epstein files, or was one of the people on the discharge petition. Credit where it's due, even if it's Nancy Mace. Tennessee's 5th, 7th, 3rd. Texas is 3rd. Texas is 15th. Texas is 21st. Texas is 22nd. Texas is 23rd. Texas is 24th. Texas is 28th. Texas is 38th. So, you all are getting me. You add up all of these seats. You add up all of them. Sorry, I want to make sure. Utah's 1st, 2nd. Virginia's 1st, 5th. Washington's 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Wisconsin's 1st. Wisconsin's 3rd, Wisconsin's 7th, and Wisconsin's 8th. What that all means, when you add all those together, it's 99, if I did my math correctly. So it's about 100. 100 seats that have a partisan voter index that lean Republican are 10 points and below. So that means that 311 districts are basically in play for Democrats in the House of Representatives. That would be a huge shift back left after the 2024 election. That would be massive. You all are following me, right? You understand everything. You're getting the gist. Hold on a second. Let me stretch my oh. Oh. All right. So with all of that being said, that would be massive. That would be huge. And I wanna make sure and read out some chats here. Someone's asking me if I'm gay. Oh my god, y'all can't come up with any other original content. You can't come up with anything. Y'all just have to fearmonger about that. Oh my god, is he gay? Sweetheart, if you have to ask, you already probably know. Anyway, make sure to send some likes. Let's also break down a couple other things in regards to the House of Representatives, what is going on in Congress. So, yesterday, I talked a little bit about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yes, her. I talked a little bit about Marjorie Taylor Greene, and then for some odd reason, my live lost connection. And so that was really, really unfortunate. But I want to talk a little bit about what's going on in Congress. We just saw what was happening with elections and how, with everything that happened last night, it was an R plus 22 or 21 district that all of a sudden, with Afton Bain, shifted 12 points or even 10 points towards Democrats. And if that holds out, that means that any R plus 10 and below district is in danger for Republicans, meaning that it's in play for Democrats to win in 2026. I wanted to also ask, like, okay, how is Congress doing? And I heard, there's everything happening with Marjorie Taylor Greene, there's special elections. Well, why are there special elections? Because there are people that are in Congress that are being appointed to specific positions, or there are people accepting jobs in the private sector, or they're just stepping down. So I was like, well, okay, all right. I asked Grok, I said, how many Republican members of the House of Representatives will not be seeking re-election? How many have quit midterm already this year? So, as of November 29th, 23 Republican members of the U.S. House of Representatives have announced they will not seek re election in the midterms. This figure includes those who are retiring from public office altogether, as well as those who are retiring to pursue other positions, such as U.S. Senate seats, governorships, state attorney general roles. But that number has been rising steadily throughout the year, and many of it has been driven by factors of partisan dysfunction, redistricting battles, frustrations with the political climate, etc. So, as you all know, there are three Republican House members that have resigned midterm. Michael Walz in Florida's 6th congressional district resigned on January 20th to become National Security Advisor. Mark Green of Tennessee's 7th was accepting a private sector position, which you just had that special election for. Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia's 14th announced her resignation effective January 5th following a public dispute with President Trump. So, with all of that, there are special elections going on. I said, okay, can you provide all the names and districts for all these people? So here's a breakdown of it. Jody Arrington of Texas's 19th congressional district will be retiring. If you all remember, going back to the partisan voter lean index, go to Texas's 19th congressional district. I don't know if it's a toss or if it's, even what their score is. Texas is 17th. Um, let's see. Oh, 19th. Sorry, not 17th, 19th. Yeah, it's an R plus 25, so it's going to be another Republican. But I could cross reference and cross check all of these. Don Bacon of Nebraska's 2nd, retiring from public office. Andy Barr, retiring from public office. But you have all these other people who are retiring from being in the House of Representatives to run for other positions. So Andy Biggs running for governor of Arizona. Buddy Carter running for U.S. Senate in Georgia, I believe. Byron Donalds running for governor of Florida. And yes, part of it is cut off here. Don't worry about it. I'll just tell you because I'm a nerd and I remember. Ashley Hinson running for U.S. Senate in Iowa. Dusty Johnson running for governor of South Dakota. John James running for governor of Michigan. Troy Nehls just retiring for public office altogether. Um, um, then you also have people like Elise Stefanik, who's stepping down from her time in the House to run for governor of New York. David Schweikbert running for governor of Arizona. Tom Tiffany running for governor of Wisconsin. Barry Moore running for a U.S. Senate seat in Alabama. Chip Roy running for attorney general, probably in Texas. Nancy Mace running for governor of South Carolina. So, but then you have all these other people who are just retiring. Mike Lawler, Greg Murphy, Ralph Norman, August Flugger, Guy Rushenthaler, Marionette Miller Meeks, Brian Mast. And some of this is there's no mandatory retirement age. Decisions to retire often stem from personal reasons, wanting to spend time with family, political frustrations, gridlock, fundraising demands, yada yada. So I asked him, like, okay, so if all these people, what are their ages and what's their note on retiring? Jody Arrington said stepping down after nearly a decade of service, no age-related reasons cited. She's 53. She's not so old. Troy Nehls, same thing, citing family focus after 30 plus years in law enforcement and politics, not age driven. But then you have a lot of these are Republican members. Like, I want you all to pause here for a second. These are Republican members of the House of Representatives that are, I'm, retiring after 10 years, citing partisan gridlock and desire for new challenges. That's Don Bacon. Andy Barr announced retirement to prioritize family amid congressional dysfunction. What is going on in Congress? Mike Lawler, one of the youngest, retiring due to frustrations with House leadership and ethics probes. Greg Murphy, longtime physician stepping away for private practice. not age. So you have these people who are members of the House of Representatives citing frustrations with leadership, partisan gridlock, all that in the House of Representatives that are in the Republican Party. Ralph Norman, he's one of the oldest. He says that he's really just passing the torch. Same with Marionette Miller Meeks. But people like Guy Reschenthaler, a 42-year-old Navy veteran and attorney, retiring to return to public life amid congressional burnout. What is going on with the Republican Party? Like, you have some of your younger up and coming stars that I don't like are like, yeah, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. That's big. That's a big story that I wanna just that I was like, "Wow, this needs to be talked about." Air Force veteran August Flugger of Texas's 11th cited policy disagreements and family as a reason. So, you're stepping down from being in Congress because of policy disagreements with your party. Brian Mast, double amputee veteran stepping down for family, potential private sector roles. But a lot of these Republicans, in summary, these retirements appear to be driven by a mix of exhaustion from congressional polarization, personal priorities, and career shifts rather than just reaching 65. What is going on in the Republican Party amongst their people? What is going on? Now the group skews younger, average age 55 with only two, Norman and Miller Meeks, over 65, highlighting broader trends in midterm exits. So what's interesting is I wanted to compare this to Democrats and Republicans. So you have 16 Democrats total not seeking reelection. You can see there are many Democrats that are also just retiring from public office altogether. There's some that are running for other offices. So when you add all this together with prior data, you have 11 retiring from public service altogether. Those people, those 11, citing partisan reasons as part of their frustrations. That's big. But then also running for other offices outside of Congress. My question is, what is inside of Congress that is so crazy that Republican lawmakers are running away from in a higher than normal rate? My speculation is that members of the House of Representatives that are in the Republican Party are frustrated with House leadership. That means Mike Johnson, as well as demands coming from the top down from the president. So we're seeing a mass exodus of people wanting to leave from Congress. Now, here's just me. I think new blood is good. I think it's an opportunity for a refresh of leadership, but also given what we saw in Tennessee last night, if we see an D plus 10 shift, that means a lot of different lawmakers might be stepping down for new progressive blood to then go through and really change things up. So that's huge. That would be huge. Now that's all speculation, but that would be huge. Um, and then you also have a lot of people running for other offices. Notice that a lot of these people who are running for other offices, um, a lot of it is running for governor of South Carolina, running for attorney general, running for US Senate, running for governor, running for governor. Notice that they're trying to leave Washington. So, a lot of Republican lawmakers, it sounds like they're really miserable. A lot of these people that are stepping down, they're miserable. So, my question is Donald Trump and is is Donald Trump and what's his face, Mike Johnson, making these elected Republicans so miserable that they're seeking other offices? It's very possible. It's very possible. Um Well, the vitamin C, if you would just hold your horses for a minute, you would see that I'm about to talk about Nancy Pelosi. If you would just hold your horses, sweetheart. I love these people that jump ahead and try to like jump down my throat. I'm getting to that part. Sweetheart, bless your little heart. But as you also as I was going to be getting there at some point, you have on the Democratic side, you also have some retirements, 16 total, 9 retiring from public office like Nancy Pelosi and Gerald Nadler, as well as 7 that are running for other offices. So, you can see a lot of these people who are retiring from public office, it's not necessarily that they are, like, citing partisan gridlock or frustration, but you have Nancy Pelosi retiring, Gerald Nadler retiring, Lloyd Doggett, Danny Davis, Dwight Evans, Jan Schakowsky, Chuy Garcia, Bonnie Watson Coleman. You look at the ages of those people, I don't have their ages here, but you have the ages of these people, most of it is like 65, 70, 75. So they're just wanting to pass the torch to other Democratic people. It's not that they are it's not that they are like, "Oh, you know, we're citing partisan gridlock." You have some other people like Eric Swalwell, Robin Kelly, Raja Krishnamurthy, Seth Moulton that are running for other offices. So so it's interesting when you put it in that way. Now there are also other members, Democratic members that unfortunately passed away in office, like Gerald Connolly, Raul Grijalva, Sylvester Turner. So these are people that passed away while they were in Congress, and they were filled. Some of those positions, like Adelita Grijalva, filled her father's seat. And then I don't know about Sylvester Turner or Gerald Connolly. That seat was filled by Jennifer McClellan, who I've actually met. She was running for governor of Virginia back in 2021. Um, but all that being said, Democratic members of Congress not seeking reelection, most of it is due to people's ages. So um, Democratic departures are predominantly driven by age and a desire for generational change, reflecting broader party discussions post 2024 about refreshing leadership amidst the minority status in Congress. Several cite passing the torch after decades of service, influenced by the Biden's withdrawal emphasis on youth. Redistricting pressures is also playing a part of it. But there's no mandatory retirement age. We could go into talking about term limits or age limits for members of Congress. I think that's a very fair discussion that Americans should probably have. Um, but that all being said, the bigger thing to look at here specifically are amongst Republican members of the House. A lot of them are either running for governor or Senate, and the ones that are retiring have also mentioned that they are just frustrated with leadership. Mike Lawler or Guy Reschenthaler. These are people that are younger members of Congress that are like one of the reasons of retiring is due to leadership priorities within the House. Announced retirement to prioritize amongst being with family, says Andy Barr. He's too young to age out, but talking about congressional dysfunction. Don Bacon, that's probably a little bit more of a retirement aspect, actually. So longtime physician wanting family change. So it's interesting to note that there are people like August Flugger, Air Force veteran, cited policy disagreements. Again, Guy Reschenthaler. There are Republican members of the House of Representatives that seem very upset and frustrated with the way that their party is handling things. So much so that they are either deciding to run for other office or just retire from public service altogether. That is a huge thing. Donald Trump leaves a trail of misery like a toxic slug. Yeah, no, true, true. So, all that being said, my problem is most of them are serving themselves instead of the needs of their constituents. Oh, 100%. I talk so much that I sometimes burp. Fun fact. I don't know if it's disgusting fact, but fun fact. Um, but yeah, so all that being said, that was pretty much the live stream that I wanted to share. With everything happening, if last night is any indication, it could mean that Democrats are poised to take back the House in 2026. by a pretty significant shift. That would be big. That would be big. Does anyone, have a specific question about what congressional district leans a certain way or what their partisan voter index score is? Because I will literally show you on here if you want me to if you know what congressional district you are in and you're like, "What is the partisan score of this district or this district or this district?" Then put it in the chat below and I will answer. But other than that, I will probably have to take a break here. And I will also I'm going into work a little bit later today. So, anyway, I appreciate you all. Won't matter. The Dems won't do anything because of optics. Won't ma What do you mean if they won't do anything because of optics? What do you mean by that? Support accurate, independent journalism. Oh, thank you, C-Bar. C-Bar, you're amazing. C-Bar, you're awesome. I always smile when I see C-Bar in here. You know, it means a lot when I see, like, routine folks that are, you know, in here and uplifting and stuff like that. You're awesome, C-Bar. Sending you lots of love and good vibes. Sending you a big hug. Um, so I'm gonna take the fact that no one has shared or asked about a specific congressional district within the partisan voter score. I'm gonna take that as you don't really care to know. But the biggest takeaway from the live, and I'm probably gonna end it here in just a few minutes. The biggest takeaway is that yes, even though Matt Van Epps, Republican, wins that seat in Tennessee's 7th congressional district, the margin in which Democrats made up was huge. The reported margin in 2024 going from R plus 22 and R plus 21 to only R plus 9, a 12-point shift towards the Democrats, that's huge. That's huge. If that is a national example, if this would be a national phenomenon, that means that any R plus 10 and below district in a conservative measure is in danger for Republicans, meaning that it is a possibility for Democrats to pick up any seat that is currently at an R plus 10. That's big. That would be a political earthquake if I've ever seen one. That would be huge. So, 13% of dark wizards cast over 50% of all violent spells. What in the world is that comment? What in the world? Ooh, so there, some wow, weird. Anyway, if you enjoyed this live stream, please make sure to smash that subscribe button before the live ends. I hope that this was informative as well as entertaining in some capacity. I'm still figuring out how to scale up my platform. My idea is that at some point I want to build up my platform enough through what I'm doing to then maybe launch my own congressional bid or something like that in the future. I am a younger 20 just turned 27 kinda guy, so I'm not, you know, like, beating down the door necessarily, but I would also really love y'all's support, and all of that, so if you wanna share my content, that means a lot. I just wanna fix crap. There's so much crap going on, you know? I just wanna be a part of the solution because, like, it's just ugh. The duet breaker is 100% right. What? What is that? And thank you to all my moderators in here. Cantisa, Joanna Tech, Ilisa, Ellie, Cherie, Kate, Jenny. I love all of you so, so much. I cannot do any of this without you all. And good friends like C-Bar. C-Bar, you're amazing. I cannot do any of this without um, my supporters as well. Y'all are amazing. Someone said that I'm a fake account. Am I a fake account? Am I a fake account? That's so funny that people are like, "You're a fake account." Okay. All right, sweetie. Do we need to have a croissant and a juice box to calm down? Anyway, I appreciate every single one of you. Any other thoughts before we go? I'm behind. I had to start at the beginning. Oh, no worries. No worries. I love all of you so much. Y'all are amazing. Um, anyway, I love all of you. Just remember that you are beautiful, you are loved, you are valid, you are strong, and you are fierce. Don't let anyone or anything ever, 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 ever dim your shine. I love all of you so